Hello, this is JB, and I am an incoming second year law student in Arkansas. And today I'm going to talk about books. The books you see right here are all of my first year law books for four classes. There was one class or two classes we didn't have books for, but we have property, torts, contract, civil procedure, criminal law, and RWA, and a few extra books that go along with these. Um, and together, this is $2,000. So I'm 40, but when I was 18, this was a car. And so books are very expensive. And one problem we had at my school is that they didn't disperse financial aid funds until a month or more after we started class. So if you didn't come with $1,000 for the first semester, then you didn't have books. So it was a problem for a lot of people. Some of them were able to work it out through various ways, borrowing from the library, talking to their friends or other people who had already taken those classes, which is what I'm going to do probably today. I'm going to take some of them to the school and give them away because I just don't feel like getting on eBay or someplace and trying to sell them. But these books are all very dense. They're all case books. They have lots of cases, and then they have with each area that we study, there are some explanations that go along with them. I felt like all of these books, I felt like none of them were worth the cost. Some of these books were $200 or $300 each or more. Of course, we don't expect it to get it for $20 or $10, but I felt like it seemed like the cost of them wasn't inflated. One reason for that is that the publishers, there's only a couple publishers, and so they kind of have a corner on the market. And when you take a class, there's one book, and you have to have that book. You can't choose a different book. And so, for that reason, the price of it, I won't say value, but the price of it goes up. And so that it feels unfair because all the information in these books, they could just as easily get it from publicly available sources, or even sources such as Westlaw, or any other source where you can find cases. And so LexisNexis. And when I did my master's degree, it was legal studies. It was not as intense as law school, but all of our cases were downloaded from the internet because they were all available online, and we used a lot of the same cases. And so I hope that in years to come, these books kind of go to the wayside, and people are able to access this information on their computers because that's how most students want it. I actually like to have the book because it's just easier for me than going through all these different web pages and logging on, and then you can't get through, you can't get on, or there's some problem, you have to change your password 10 times. And if you forgot your cell phone, then you can't get the code they sent you. And so it's very annoying. But so I like to have the book because I can scribble all over it and highlight it. One of the reasons I don't try to sell them is because I highlight so much, and so that might not be helpful to other people who just highlight what they believe is the most important part, but probably is. And so these are like graffitied based on what I was trying to do. And so I don't know. But one other issue is that some of the books were written by the professor that's teaching the class, which seems like a conflict of interest because it is. They wrote the book, and when they sell the book, which you have to buy it, so they're going to sell it. They make money off of it. And the thing is that they're professors at the law school, so they're being paid. And during that time that they're being paid, they're creating this material and then they're selling it. So they're being paid twice. It's not actually double, but they're able to benefit not only from teaching, but also from what they create. When what they create should be owned by the university, if you ask me. Uh, that's that area and that idea is a lot more complicated than that. So I'm not going to try to get into it or explain it. But um, it's, I wish that, maybe it's true. Maybe it's true that the very best book that exists is the one written by the professor, but that might not be true. And if it's not true, but they're still using theirs, then that doesn't help us. And so I wish they would do that differently. They're probably not gonna, but I wish they would. And so I felt like the most useful book was these little teeny tiny books up here. These were for RWA, research, writing, and analysis. I felt like they were written in a way that people could understand. They don't contain too many cases because it's more of an explanation of how to do those things, read, write, and analyze. And so they were a lot easier to deal with. But they were easy. They're smaller, so you don't have to flip through 1,200 pages. You just flip through however many that is, 400 to 500. But there we are. And so then there's like the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. We didn't have to buy this book, but it was either that or print them out. And so either way, you have to have something on paper. And then the top book, this one right here, is the blue book, which you absolutely need as a legal writer. And then the Uniform Commercial Code. We were told to have it in paper form. Again, you could print it out if you wanted, but it was going to cost the same. I think this book cost $50 or something. But anyhow, if you're going to law school, you need to know that your books are going to be expensive. And it's hard because when you get a very small amount of financial aid, and it's going to get even worse as we go forward with this present administration. If you get a small amount of financial aid and then $2,000 is gone, well, then you have to cut other stuff like food, prescriptions, live in a tent, not literally, hopefully, but, walk instead of drive. You might have to sell your car, or ride with friends, take an Uber once a month or something. But ride the bus, that is actually a good thing. We have a free bus pass. And so, but you'll have to find other ways. And I've made it work. It's not easy. It's not fun. I didn't enjoy it, but made it work. And this right here, this is a air fryer. And the reason I got this is because the only thing I can afford to eat right now is fried air. Get it? All right. Well, that's all I got about these books. Except for I would tell you that I made the mistake at the very beginning of the year of renting the books because it wasn't really my fault, but I rented books. And then I realized that I needed to buy them so that I could highlight in them and not get charged. And so I was able to highlight and make notes in the books because I own them. And instead of renting them, and then when you still pay a lot for them, and then you have to return them, but you can't really get the most out of them because you can't make notes and highlights. So that's a mistake. But one other thing is that, for example, at my school, they push us towards the bookstore, and the bookstore is owned by or operated by a large book company, bookseller. And so you get funneled in that direction, the prices are higher. But I found most of my books, well, all of my books this year for my second year, I found them online for much cheaper, used, and still the same edition, still the same ISBN, but just used and cheaper. So I'm doing that. But it's kind of like a lot of other things in life. There's monopolies. Or just a very few companies controlling the market, setting the prices, and it usually ends up not benefiting us. So that's all I got to say about law books for the first year. If you have any questions, please do ask. Thanks. Bye.